Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Travel Nurse Academy. I think this is episode 3. It's been about a month since my last episode, and I do hope everybody had a great holiday season. Let's dive into it. This is probably one of the most anticipated videos about travel nurse bill rates. So we're going to cover the basics, and then we're going to build on that knowledge until we get to a point where hopefully we all understand bill rates together and how they correlate to our pay as travel nurses. So travel nurse bill rates, what are they? How do agencies use them to calculate our pay? And what do they mean when they say it's like a pie and all of these different things come out of it? First and foremost, let's talk about average bill rates in the current travel nurse market. And then let's talk about average bill rates during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic travel nurse market. So current travel nurse bill rates are anywhere from $60 on the low end to $120 on the high end. Now, compare that to the COVID-19 pandemic travel nurse craze, where the low end was $100 and the high end could be as high as $200. Never had anybody that I know, or did I personally see a bill rate over $200, but that is just my experience and my friends that work at travel agencies' experience. That does not mean that I can speak for the industry as a whole. So now that you've heard the averages, I know that your first thought is probably, oh my gosh, they're billing $100 an hour for my services as a travel nurse or travel healthcare provider, and I'm only making $30 an hour, so they're keeping $70? No, that's not how that breakdown works. Let's talk about why. So when you ask your travel nurse recruiter about bill rates, you probably get one of two answers. Either A, we can't discuss that because we could be in violation of our contract with the facility, or B, we don't discuss bill rates with travelers simply because we don't. And that's what I want to change about the industry. So, travel nurse bill rates are very complicated, and that is often why agencies will not take the time to explain to you their math equations and how they get your pay package out of that $100 bill rate. So we're going to look at this $100 bill rate two different ways. The first way is going to be if your agency is a direct contractor with the facility. The second way is going to be if they have to go through a vendor to get jobs with that facility. So if your agency has a direct contract with the facility, then their bill rate is $100. They're not paying a vendor fee. They are not having some larger agency or, big vendor take $5 off the top. It is $100. It's very cut and dry. That's why often these can be the best contracts to work if your agency has a decent profit margin and not one that is excessive. But more common is when your agency does not have a direct contract and they are utilizing a hospital's vendor or preferred agency to get access to the jobs. So what does this mean? It means the vendor or the preferred agency is at the top of the food chain. That's whose bill rate is $100. Oftentimes, before they subcontract those jobs out, those big guys will take at least $5 off the top. So now your smaller agency has a $95 bill rate. They're already at a disadvantage. Now, the starting bill rate for your smaller agency is $95. Then they have to pay a fee to the vendor in order to use their services. I've seen this fee be as little as 3%. I've seen it be as high as 10%. We're going to say the average is 5%. So now, $95 bill rate, you got to go ahead and take out that 5% fee. So that brings us to a new bill rate of $90.25 right off the top before they can even start calculating your pay package. And this is all done in an Excel spreadsheet, so technically it does do the math all together, but we're just looking at it this way to make it simple. So now that smaller agency is at a $10 difference almost from where we started, which already eats into your profit as a nurse. From there, the agency has to account for many different things, including, but not limited to, your hourly pay, your overtime pay, your housing tax-free money, your meals and incidentals tax-free money, your reimbursements. So if you're being reimbursed for scrubs, parking, certifications, that's all getting factored into your pay package. Most agencies will build in some rainy day fund, miscellaneous money in case of emergencies. This will cover payroll taxes and all of those back end expenses that your employer has to pay, your compliance, and one of my favorite things, the NBO, or the non-billable orientation hours. So once the agency has started factoring in where all of that money needs to be allotted to, that's when it arrives to you as the traveler in the form of a pay package. And one thing I did forget to mention, it will also include the agency's profit. And if you follow me on TikTok, then you know that the typical profit margin in the industry tends to be anywhere from 15% to 40%. I would say the standard or the average is 20 to 30% across the entire industry. And I think this is a good stopping point for our intro to bill rates. For the next video, what I plan on getting into is the definition of NBO and some of those terms that I used and how they affect your pay package, as well as looking at some ways that agencies tend to nickel and dime travelers because we don't usually ask the right questions when it comes to bill rates. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I do hope to have the next installment in this series out within the month. But if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, then you know that I did just start a travel nurse assignment recently. So I'm going to be back on night shift. It's going to get a little chaotic, but we'll be doing my best to keep up with all of my social media platforms. Just bear with me, and you can visit my Snipfeed store. Sorry, I had to think of what it's called. It's lindsaysleisures.net. If you need immediate resources on travel nursing or how to break down your contract pay package or how to do your budget, anything like that, I do have resources on my Instagram and TikTok bios.